Hello, everybody. Welcome to Awesomecast number 26. It is a lovely Friday night. I am Brandon the Awesome, the one with the mostest, and we're here to laugh at some more fake Star Wars fans who are coming out of the woodwork to defend the show that started it all, The Clone Wars. TCW by Dave Filoni. So let us see who is in the chat currently. I see that Solar Voludun is in the chat. Suffer not the shill to live. And yeah. How are you guys doing? We're just gonna let a few people come into the chat, and then we can get the ball rolling. I've got 3 videos lined up, and I've got interesting look at a article that came out a couple days ago. I think it was yesterday or maybe earlier today. I'm looking at some. Okay. Actually, no, I was supposed to hit this. Things always get weird right before I'm about to stream. Let me share my screen and let us get underway. Here we have Leslie Headland coming back out of the woodwork, calling YouTube critics fascists and racists while addressing the Acolyte cancellation. So Leslie Headland here is hashtag big mad because of people didn't like the Acolyte and it got canceled because nobody watched it. That was what, like $180 billion down the drain? Why am I not surprised? I mean, it is pretty bad. So, Headland says making the Acolyte was always a major risk. I mean, it's always a major risk when you're breaking established canon and ruining the character that is Anakin Skywalker, the show that built upon they couldn't use Anakin Skywalker, the guy whom Star Wars is all about, the first 6 films. Her references were the High Republic novels, the Publishing Initiative, and then the prequels, specifically with the lightsabers. Oh, okay. So no wonder this show is crap. It was based off, the crappy High Republic novels and whatever the hell the Publishing Initiative is. Fiery classification of YouTube Star Wars critics, aka real Star Wars fans and people with common sense. Headland stressed that she was not online during the swirl of reactions surrounding the show's release. Okay, so that would explain why she's, it's either that or they wanted to keep her quiet until, the backlash died down. Because that is indeed interesting that she's only coming out about it now. I am a Star Wars fan, Headland claimed yet again, aka she lied again, which means I've always been, since the launch of YouTube, part of the Star Wars recap, criticism, lionization fandom community. What the hell is lionization? That doesn't make any sense. You barely do crap on YouTube anyway. These guys I've known for years and years. I've supported them on Patreon. So she actually does pay for the shills that she used to support the Acolyte. There are some of them I respect, Headland said, like fake news Kyle Katarn, Molly Damon, and the other sex planes. And there are some of them that I think are absolutely snake oil salesmen, just opportunists. Then, of course, there are the fascists and the racists. Guess who she thinks falls into that final category? Apparently, I'm a fascist and a racist now. Her wife and Acolyte cast members have made similar accusations. My friend Kawil, who also serves as co-host every other week on the Awesomecast, made a meme about this that I should share later. Headlands have all of the people on the Acolyte are just complete and total morons who are easily triggered by the truth. Of course, she used the term fascist. That term has lost all meaning. Iron Inquisitor, welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream, man. The negative reactions were fueled by racists. So apparently everyone who was negative against the Acolyte's a racist. Amanda Stenberg made similar remarks in a whole diss tract. Yeah, we all know. And she actually looks more attractive in the diss tract than she does here. Ledley Hasland was not surprised at the Acolyte cancellation, but shocked by the publicness. Oh boy. I was not surprised by it. I think it was, but she did express frustration with how it unfolded, describing the process as unexpectedly fast and unexpectedly visible. Well, that's what happens when you sink like $180 into a project like the Acolyte and it flops super hard. I think I was surprised at the swiftness of it and the publicness of it. I was surprised by how it was handled. Yeesh. Content about Star Wars will be more culturally impactful than Star Wars. Tell that to the first 6 movies. Oh, and look, it's Dave Filoni. You probably didn't recognize him at first if he wasn't wearing the stupid cowboy hat. I'm surprised he actually takes that thing off. It made me start to think the content being made about Star Wars will ultimately be more culturally impactful than actual Star Wars. Tell that to the original trilogy and tell that to the prequel trilogy. You dumb idiot. Headland ends with no regrets. I don't know. It seems like you really have a lot of them if you're lashing out at people. Good Lord. So basically, nothing has really changed. Mattem, welcome to the stream. It was a blast being with you and the others. More people are kind of crawling in. And so the main festivities shall begin. Let's start with Darth Homo, everybody. With technically, Ahsoka outranks Anakin in seniority. Whoops. Outranks Anakin. Jedi Prime, welcome to the stream. Wolf Scar, welcome to the stream. More culturally impactful than Star Wars. Yeah, no, 1977 was when Star Wars was released, quite literally changed the world. Yeah, it's not like all 6 movies changed us how cinema works. Hello there. Ahsoka would have to be canon for that to be true.
Off Glibber, hi friends. Darth Momo here. Did you know that while Anakin is years older than Ahsoka, She was actually a Jedi longer than he was. Ahsoka was 14 in the Clone Wars movie, aka 22.
You do know that's technically not fair because Anakin literally, Anakin's. One of these days I'll join one of the streams. Gotta plan ahead for it. Oh, did something come up and that's why you are unable to co-host? Because I was wondering. I was wondering why you weren't showing up, man. I mean, it's fine. I can do this solo, but I technically think I work better with the co-host. But with the different time zones and all that, it's kind of like, yeesh. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for popping in though. Ja FF03, welcome to the stream. Ahsoka isn't even canon to the original film universe. Facts.
BBY. This means she was born in 36 BBY. Jedi initiates usually join the Order sometime between ages 2 and 4. This is confirmed by the 2023 Star.
Of course, he's referencing modern Disney Star Wars. Crap, this guy is literally making Disney lore videos. Oh God, how low can Momo go?
Star Wars Timelines book that Ahsoka joined in 33 BBY, at least 1 year before Anakin in 32 BBY. Ahsoka left the Order in the last year of the war, 19 BBY, which is also confirmed by the Timelines book. Anakin fell to the dark side and became a Sith in 19 BBY.
And Ahsoka did jack all during all this. The fake timeline book, absolutely. Ahsoka is bullcrap. Yep. I don't really think I have many thoughts on Snarky J. Because I haven't really watched any of her stuff. My dad does, though.
So while yes, it's really close, technically speaking, Ahsoka has seniority over Anakin in the Order.
By like 1 year. Dear God, that was like a nothing burger of a video other than just to be stupid. But nice to know that Darth Momo is quite literally he's still continuing to showcase to the world that he is a fake Star Wars fan. That is embarrassing. Embarrassing. All right. Oh, no, wait. I got to close that. Okay. Which one's... Okay. Here we go. This one, I think, is going to get a lot of people in. Beyond knowing, with 10 shocking legends you may not know are still canon. Dave Filoni. Oh, God. Here we go.
There's always a bit of truth in legends.
When Disney took
Screw you with
over
that line.
Star Wars, one of the first things they did was create a division between their new canon and what they called legends.
The expanded universe. Get the name right. Damn it.
Good job. Much to the chagrin of long-term fans, the vast majority of Star Wars was decanonized, leaving us with hundreds upon hundreds of stories that were no longer part of the Star Wars storyline.
Disney Star Wars is fake Star Wars. Real Star Wars was, is, and always be the 6 films and the expanded universe.
Disney expressed that the only material to remain canon were the 6 feature films and the Clone Wars animated series, leaving everything else in the dust. While this broke the heart of all EU fans, the logic behind the move was admittedly rather sound, as Star Wars was beginning to feel cluttered and became littered with tons of contradictions.
No,
that is false. Of course, they're going to say, "Oh, it was filled with contradictions," and then bring out literally none. Cannibal the Dragon, welcome to the stream. Amen, brother.
not possible.
While at first this seemed like a heavy blow, the fact that the Clone Wars remained canon meant that every Easter egg and reference within the show was also still canon.
Good.
Oh, God, no. You mean every single time they disrespected the EU by referencing it in the Clone Wars?
So today I wanted to talk about some of my favorites with 10 sneaky legends that might not have been canon if it weren't for the Clone Wars. As a disclaimer, this list will not be covering stuff that was recanonized like Tython or Revan or Grand Admiral Thrawn, since those things were brought back into canon after having been
It was always canon, you moron.
decanonized. No. Today I wanted to focus about things that you may not realize have always been canon, thanks to Dave Filoni and his love for Easter eggs.
You want Mando to say McClane?
Yes.
Dave Filoni and his love for nostalgia bait.
Should he? When he shoots the light out, he says, "Man, don't leave me here. Don't leave me here." Come on. When you say it out loud.
RPG battle game and monsters, grids such as 2-month battle to witches, adventures, special hundreds use the.
Oh god, it's the bastardized version of Darth Bane. Discount Shredder. No, I forgot that this was one of the first things I knew they brought back into Disney. No, I forgot. Oh god, I try to forget that Darth Bane. Bait. Oh yeah, an ad. Brief relief.
Darth Bane, the ancient Sith Lord, you are.
At number 10, we have the infamous Sith Lord Darth Bane. Darth Bane
That's
is
not Darth Bane.
most famously remembered for
Actually, this guy looks more like a Unicron. What were they? Unicron Elite from the Transformers Marvel comics than he does the Shredder. Stop using legends for the actual canon of Star Wars. Call it by its real name, the expanded universe. Make it canon.
being the Sith to come up with the rule of 2.
The Sith killed each other, victims of their own.
Given time, 1 master and 1 apprentice.
Always 2 there are. No more, no less.
While the rule of 2 has been canon since The Phantom Menace, it was the story behind the rule that fans found so compelling. Before the Bane era, the Sith were numerous and vast, much like the Jedi Order, with their own armies, politics, and governments. However, because of their inherently selfish nature, the Sith existed on a path of self-destruction, betrayal, and collapse. It was Darth Bane who reformed the Sith Order after having been motivated by a holocron with the.
Yeah, Amazing Super Mike's all right. He's fine. Damn it, this video's barely started. I'm getting 100 aneurysms already. Yeah, that tends to happen.
Teachings of Darth Revan.
I chose to pass my knowledge on to only one.
Initially, it may have seemed that the story of Bane was lost under Disney, but thanks to Season 6 of The Clone Wars, we know that none of that is true.
I created a legacy so.
Arc of Season 6, Yoda must confront this, and B created the rule of 2.
But from the.
Oh, God.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion. Through passion, I gain strength. Through strength, I gain power. Through power, I gain victory. Through victory, my chains are broken. The Force shall free me.
Jedi Code.
You know, he says thanks to blank, and I'm like, don't thank them. Because anything that gets dragged into Disney Star Wars just dies. Cool summary. Did Wikipedia tell it to you? I want Mara Jade and Revan and Starkiller and Kakatan to be made canon. Dash Star. I don't think I've heard of him before. Or if I did, I can't recall. So let's keep going.
Code was first created for a Star Wars tabletop game, but it was made official by its appearance in Heir to the Empire. Even though the full code isn't quoted in the novel, it was enough to suggest that the code as a whole was part of the Jedi Way. In Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, BioWare decided to use that code as a way of testing the player character when training them to become a Jedi. This meant that the player had to...
The tabletop games technically are canon since they provided the backbone of the expanded universe. Screw you.
learn the code from one NPC and then recite it to another one. They decided to simply use the Jedi code as it had already been written and force the player to memorize this. However, when the player character goes to Korriban to infiltrate the Sith Academy, there was no counterpart to the Jedi code at that time, leaving the gameplay somewhat unbalanced. To answer for this, BioWare created the Sith code, designing it to be a dark counterpart of the Jedi code created so many years earlier. Just like at the Jedi Academy, the player must memorize and recite the Sith code, which helped to make both training experiences feel authentic.
Yeah, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Ironically, despite being created after the Jedi Code and even in response to the Jedi Code, the Sith Code remained canon while the Jedi Code was initially lost under Disney and would not be brought back into canon until Dark Disciple, leaving it non-canon for the first 3 years of...
When was it ever left non-canon? The expanded universe has always been canon. I actually do want to do that as well, and I have an idea, a members-only idea for that. West End Games, WOTC, Star Wars materials, fantastic, lots of stuff to read. Yeah, I actually was able to find some scans online for it.
Disney's ownership of the Star Wars IP. The Sith Code remained canon thanks to the input of dedicated Star Wars fan and voice actor Sam Witwer, who thought that Maul should be reciting the Sith Code in the midst of his insanity.
Oh, you mean Sam Witwer, the sellout who basically only has a job because he keeps kissing ass to Disney. Lovely.
This little rant kept the Sith Code safe from decanonization, allowing it to remain part of the Star Wars canon from Knights of the Old Republic until now.
There were other...
After many trials, Yoda travels to Moraban, ancient home planet of the Sith.
Speaking of Knights of the Old Republic, also in the final act of the Clone Wars Season 6, Master Yoda...
This video is mostly going to be him kissing up to TCW, isn't it? Mecha G75, welcome to the stream.
is guided by the spirit of Qui-Gon Jinn on a path to learn how to preserve his consciousness after death. During his journey, Yoda is taken
Which shouldn't be happening until around Revenge of the Sith.
The ancient Sith world known as Moraban, which...
It's Korriban, you idiot!
Really just looks a lot like Korriban. While the name appeared to be different, this was still very clearly Korriban, as we can see the very famous Valley of the Dark Lords, as visited in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and the Old Republic MMO. This effectively solidified Korriban in canon, but the name of the planet was still different. According to Dave Filoni, that was changed because George Lucas liked the sound of the letter M better than the letter K.
That doesn't make any sense, and on top of that, Dave Filoni cannot be trusted with anything because he's a filthy liar. When do you think Maul Soy Lord is going to drop? I think it is dropping sometime next year. Probably it'll be like the first Disney Star Wars show they drop. It's called Korriban and Jedi Academy Dark Empire, god darn it. Sam Witwer, Starkiller. The voice of Darth Maul is Peter Serafinowicz. If I butchered that, I apologize so much.
I call it murder, not muckduck.
As silly as that reasoning sounds, what you might not know is that the name Korriban is actually still canon, as it was revealed that the pronunciation of the planet's name evolved after centuries of neglect and misuse. And
evolved by changing only one letter. How the hell does that make any damn sense?
This makes sense. Words tend to change in pronunciation and spelling over time, kind of like how in our world, the word ration used to be pronounced as ration, and the word rough used to be pronounced with the GH sound, kind of making a k sound, making it ruch instead of rough or tuch.
Okay, but that's pronunciation. That doesn't change one darn letter.
Instead of tough. And since KOTOR was set 4,000 years before the Clone Wars, that was plenty of time for the pronunciation to change and mutate, meaning that by the time of the Old Republic era, this world was still called Korriban, even in canon. But after centuries, the pronunciation evolved into Moraband. Same planet, just millennia in the future, just like everyone now calls it England instead of Anglo-land.
Careful we must be. deserted this planet was, long ago.
Lost a fight. I'm not about to start today.
Now, Korriban is not the only part of the Old Republic still canon. Thanks to Clone Wars, we also have some other Old Republic trivia confirmed, such as the Old Republic logo, as seen on the Paladin-class Corvette in the episode Test of Courage.
I want to cry.
We also get to see an Old Republic-style protocol droid. Now, Huang is technically classified on StarWars.com as an architect droid.
Call me what you want.
However, his design, and particularly that of his faceplate, is incredibly reminiscent of the protocol
Oh man, that looks way cooler than whatever the hell it is.
droids used in the Old Republic, specifically as seen in the MMORPG Star Wars The Old Republic.
My functions are diplomacy, translation, manslaughter, and calumniation.
Curiously, these protocol droids can be seen serving within both the Republic and Imperial factions, but I think it's safe to say that Huang came from the Republic side of things.
I contain a record of every lightsaber ever made.
I don't know why. I've always hated that droid's face. Historical linguistics is my forte. This dude is talking bullcrap. If anything, it would be Horopan or however Galactic Basic works. I'd assume it worked just like normal English. It doesn't make any sense that it only changes by one letter. Oh, hey, XX Misery's in the chat, everybody. Misery's in the chat. Are you going to try and break my legs, pal?
And the Jedi who fashioned them.
Regardless, thanks to Huang, we now know that at least some droids in the Old Republic era did, in fact, look like this. It may not be much, but it is something to give us a glimpse of what life was like during the era of the Old Republic in Star Wars canon. We also get to see a Paladin-class Corvette, which is based on the design of the Defender-class light Corvette. The original idea was that the Paladin was a larger version of the Defender, but built in the same style.
You're basically just referring to Disney stealing stuff. All right, Micah G 75. All right, Micah G. Micah G. See you on the next one.
While the existence of the Paladin doesn't necessarily canonize the Defender, it does tell us that ships during the Old Republic era did, in fact, look like this.
Oh, God, another one. Oh, no, not one of these ads. I hate these ads. These ads just make me not want... Oh, no. No, 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 no. I tell him that Disney Star Wars is fake Star Wars and that the expanded universe is still canon. Captain Phoebius, welcome to the stream, man.
Now, you can't have a discussion about old Star Wars video games without someone bringing up Republic Commandos. Beloved by fans, the game saw you take control of Boss, the leader of an elite clone team known as Delta Squad. With Squad...
I'm actually in the middle of going through yet another playthrough of this game, actually, on medium difficulty.
Commands and team tactics, the game showed us clones at their most elite, working together in a specialized team to go behind enemy lines and work to thwart the efforts of the Separatist Alliance. Thanks to a blink and you miss it Easter egg, in Witches of the Mist...
How the heck is it blink it and miss it, you'll miss it Easter egg? They show up for like a minute. Time for them to ruin Republic Commando. Oh, wait, they ruined Scorch. Yeah, my favorite of the Commandos happens to get ruined.
Fans of Delta Squadron can rest easy knowing that this elite clone squad is indeed still canon. Furthermore, in the D-Squad story arc, we meet Gregor, getting verbal confirmation that this armor is indeed the armor of a clone commando.
There were no survivors on Deveron. Everyone was killed, including Master Halsey and his Padawan.
You remember your mother? Your real mother?
Just a little bit. She died when I was very young.
Now, even in universe, psychometry is an incredibly rare force ability.
All right, they stole this for Jedi Fallen Order. I mean, interesting game mechanic. I just wish it was in a real Star Wars video game. Don't give them ideas. Remember 10 years ago, I met this guy during first semester of college who knew the EU, and we both agreed and predicted The Force Awakens would not be as good as the Thrawn trilogy. We were so right. That is awesome, man. Republic Commando has always been canon. The Seed, the Clone Wars multimedia project is the canon Clone Wars. Exactly. That's the truth, and that is what we preach.
Such an object and witness events connected to it. You feel its history.
It's an echo in the Force from the object.
Not many Jedi have that skill.
Psychometry allows the user to feel the emotions imprinted into an object, sensing its history and movements. Behind the scenes, this ability was first created as an explanation for how Leia was able to remember her mother, despite the fact that her mother died when she was infantile, not just...
When the heck was that confirmed? I have never seen that brought up before.
Very young. It was famously a Force ability that even Luke was unable to use. Since then, it was largely a deep lore ability, not nearly as ubiquitous as Force Pull, Choke, or Lightning. The ability was solidified into canon thanks to the appearance of Quinlan Vos in the Clone Wars animated series.
Also, he got the history of it wrong. Psychometry was introduced, I believe, with Quinlan Vos in the comics. I think this is the first time he actually did not look up Wikipedia for this crap.
In addition to Leia, Quinlan is one of only 4 Jedi to have this ability, with other notable characters being Nuke Sin and Cal Kestis. I guess technically Rey used it on Ochi's knife.
But I don't want to talk about it right now. Let's go.
Anyway, it's thanks to the Clone Wars that we have our best explanation as to how Leia can remember her mother, since
You mean a fake explanation? Okay, if it's Disney Star Wars, then it's fake. Why do people keep glazing TCW? I don't know. That's Quinlan Lebowski, darn it.
Geometry is still canon.
What do you remember?
Just images, really. Feelings.
Find Malachor.
Now, Malachor 5 was a planet first referenced in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and visited in Knights of the Old Republic 2. Thankfully, the name of the
I
planet
still have to play KOTOR 2.
has never stopped being canon. Major Gascon used Malachor as a bit of a curse word in the Clone Wars episode Missing in Action. And
oh, look, one of the worst arcs in TCW. At least according to people who actually do like TCW.
For a while, this remained the extent of Malachor's canonization. Of course, it was eventually brought back as a Sith stronghold in Star Wars Rebels. While the exact details of the conflict were heavily changed from the original story with Revan and the Mass Shadow Generator,
AKA Dave Filoni didn't know what the hell he was doing because he absolutely is a fraud and a hack who hates Star Wars.
This story was no less harrowing.
This was a battlefield.
I need a Jedi holocron. To get a holocron, I'd have to break into the Jedi Temple.
Screw off. Holocrons in general are a device and have always been canon. Screw you. They're not unique to the Jedi.
Jedi holocrons were first introduced in the old Star Wars tabletop game and made their way into the larger Star Wars story with the 2003 video games Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Galaxies.
I notice he's hardly bringing up the novels or the comics. This guy is like a filthy cat. He's a bit more of a casual because he's only referencing
holocrons
the
are
game.
items imbued with the Force to carry knowledge and teachings to future generations, preserving the information and wisdom within.
Holocrons are also recording devices that anyone can use to record anything.
However, what you might not know is that holocrons were almost lost to us, similar to how Darth Revan's legacy might have been lost to the world if Darth Bane had not found his holocron.
No, they never would have been lost. They're always there because the EU is still canon. Disney Star Wars is not Star Wars.
Yes, after the Disney takeover, holocrons were considered a relatively obscure part of Star Wars lore that seemed insignificant to many of the creative minds creating Star Wars content, especially considering that they had never made an appearance in the mainstream Star Wars saga. Or at least they wouldn't have if it weren't for the Clone Wars episode Holocron Heist, which features, you guessed it, a Jedi holocron at the center of the plot. While this episode kept Jedi holocrons safe in the Star Wars encyclopedias, the same was not true for Sith holocrons, which would remain uncanon for another 4 years after Disney's acquisition, before finally being featured in the Star Wars Rebels Season 2 finale, Twilight of the Apprentice, right alongside Malachor. I find this really interesting that, similar to how the Jedi Code was non-canon while the Sith Code was canon, and for a while Jedi holocrons were canon while Sith holocrons were not.
It only makes sense that if one is canon, the other would be as well, idiot.
In fact, Sith holocrons were canonized the year after the Jedi Code was canonized, finally bringing all of these things back together. This is poetry because it rhymes.
No, it's not. It's despair and depression because we're watching the destruction of Star Wars in real time.
Like poetry, so if they rhyme.
Whether you're a professional contract.
Fishy, 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 come and eat me too. You can't get me, little fishy. Nothing here. I'm safe behind my walls.
The Selkath is a race of aquatic creatures
native to not the Selkath. I like the Selkath. What did you do to my Selkath?
The homeworld of Manan, first featured in the masterpiece Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Given the obviously oceanic nature of the planet and the fact that they look like bipedal whale sharks, these creatures were quite obviously a form of sapient sea life from the Star Wars universe. The planet of Manan was famous for growing Kolto, an ancient predecessor to the superior Bacta used for healing in the era of the Star Wars films. While the existence of Kolto as the predecessor of Bacta wouldn't be recanonized until the High Republic novels,
I'd rather not talk about it.
You may have forgotten that.
Okay, this guy has some, like maybe 1 or 2 marbles. Too bad he doesn't got the Too bad he doesn't have the rest.
The Selkath themselves have never stopped being canon, since we do see one here in the Clone Wars.
No, you can't harm me in here. I'm invincible.
I just want to cry.
You were deceived. And now your republic shall...
Don't tell me that this masterpiece is stuck in Disney Star Wars. Please don't.
Finally, we have the sacking of the Jedi Temple as seen in the Star Wars The Old Republic Deceived cinematic trailer. Well, sort of. What we really know is that an ancestor to Pre-Vizsla was present at some sort of battle at the Jedi Temple wherein they stole the Darksaber. This was originally meant to reflect what we see here in the Deceived trailer, where this Mandalorian is Shae Vizsla, who would become Mandalore and is presumably the ancestor to Pre-Vizsla, and it would have been during this time, during this cinematic trailer, that she did recover the Darksaber, reclaiming it into the lineage of the Vizsla clan. Of course, almost none of those details are still confirmed. The only thing being confirmed is that the Mandalorians did at one point go and attack the Jedi Temple and reclaim the Darksaber with Clan Vizsla at the head of the assault. But
the Darksaber doesn't exist. It's literally, the real Darksaber is literally just the Empire's weapon. You know, it's just the Death Star super laser with everything else, you know, wiped out. Well, that was terrible. Fun fact, when the Sith Empire returned, the Selkath tried to declare neutrality. Again, the Sith Empire bombed the hell out of them. No! Not Manan. I love Manan. No, I love Manan. All right. Let me gear up because it may just be like a very short stream tonight, chat. Because I'm starting to think I'm not, you know, cut out for doing this by myself. Like, doing this as, you know, one single host isn't really doing it. I think I need somebody to bounce off of in order to make this work. I need another Star Wars video. That'll work. Okay. Did I cover this before? I think I may have covered this, but we'll get to that. Oh, don't worry, they got better. Yay! Edwin Vesuik. Edwin, welcome to the stream. What's up, y'all? We're just about to get to the pièce de résistance of the stream. Screen Crush with how the Clone Wars saved Star Wars and fixed the prequels. Gear up, everybody.
Today, I'm going to talk about how the Clone Wars TV series not only fixed the Star Wars prequels, but the show is also a roadmap for how Lucasfilm should be treating the saga in the modern day. Welcome back.
You mean continue? I mean, to be fair, they're literally just doing just that. They're butchering the hell out of it. Idiot. Give me a second. Paste. Okay, and we can continue. Hey, Darth Angel, welcome to the stream. Hey, so glad to see you guys. It was in the SWOTOR lore. Never seen them, unfortunately. Solar. Yeah, the problem is the Old Republic is my blind spot, so I really need to start getting into it more. Happy to be here. Welcome, dude. Nice Power Rangers avatar.
Screen Crush, I'm Ryan Airy. And do you guys remember when fans hated the Star Wars prequels?
You mean when the internet was gaslit? When mainstream media gaslit normies into thinking that the prequels were awful? Yeah. We unfortunately remember. We're still suffering the side effects to this day.
Hence, backlash made Ahmad Best, Jake Lloyd, and Hayden Christensen essentially retire from acting. But today, go to any Star Wars celebration, and those same actors get standing ovations.
Making me emotional.
They always did. I forever will praise Hayden Christensen for his acting in the prequel trilogy. My PFP is from Kaizoku Sentai Kogeiger, but I'll let it slide by. Sorry, it looks like Power Rangers. I know like next to nothing about Japanese media. I'm sorry. Outside of Transformers, I know nothing. Well, actually, Transformers, Mario, and Sonic.
So, what changed? The Clone Wars fixed the story of the prequel trilogy.
It didn't. That's not what changed. What changed was people grew up, actually watched the movies, and then realized idiots like Red Letter Media were wrong all this time. There was nothing to fix. There absolutely wasn't. The prequels are just as great as the original trilogy.
I'm going to explain how this series fixed each aspect of the prequels that fans hated, and how this incredible show gave those movies more context, character development, and they also retconned and fixed a lot of plot holes. Now, the Clone...
And of course, we're just going to swipe aside the expanded universe, which filled in the gaps for the Clone Wars. When I was 8, Anakin was my favorite character, and my parents who grew up with the OT loved the prequels. Hey, as far as I'm aware, Darth Vader and Anakin have always been among my favorite Star Wars characters, if not my most favorite, alongside Jango Fett. Oh, I see. Get better, buddy. Get better. See you on the next one. If I'm remembering right, wasn't TCW tanking? It only survived due to money getting pumped into it. Yeah, if I recall, the show's ratings were beginning to tank. Remember, guys, this is the guy who said he is not chilling. Oh, we're not chilling for Disney, guys.
Wars were first mentioned in A New Hope.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
But we didn't actually hear about them again, technically until Attack of the Clones after the Battle of Geonosis.
They were mentioned in the Heir to the Empire novel, you moron.
Begun the Clone War has.
So with the clone troopers fully deployed and Count Dooku leading the Separatists, the end of Attack of the Clones set up a major story arc, the original galactic civil war that we have been imagining in our heads since 1977. But then Revenge of the Sith began 3 years after Attack of the Clones, toward the tail end of the Clone Wars. So
Okay, so it baffles me when you have something like Screen Crush, which is clearly set up to be like, oh, we have like a production budget and we have a crew for making videos. And then they just brush aside the entire Clone Wars multimedia project. Like, what the hell? How does that happen? How do you just sweep aside an entire multimedia project like that? Do you guys not know how to geek? Oh, wait, of course you don't. You guys just know how to shill. I just rewatched Revenge of the Sith a few days ago, and man, it's so damn good. Star Wars ended at Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi. Actually, why stop there? Technically, Star Wars never ends. Farthest we ever got was Legacy. Has this dumbass Red Republic, Republic Commando, Labyrinth of Evil, MedStar, Jedi Trial, Cestus Deception, Shatterpoint, Yoda Dark Rendezvous, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, the video games? He wouldn't even know what those types of books are. I don't get how you could just ignore that. Someone should have had to
the movie opens with the Battle of Coruscant, which is one of the last major battles of the war. So by the middle of Revenge of the Sith, the Clone Wars ended when Obi-Wan kills General Grievous.
So uncivilized.
It was a bit of a bummer because the war happened almost entirely off-screen. The Clone Wars are
in the comics, books, and video games, you moron. It wasn't on the big screen, but it didn't need to be.
Essential to understanding how the Jedi and the Republic fell, and we didn't get to see them. In addition to skipping years of action-packed battles, this gap between movies also weakened the overall story of the prequels. So let's talk about each element.
That doesn't make any damn sense. That's a first.
Element of the prequels that didn't work, and how the Clone Wars enriched the story. So let's start with the greatest character created for the Clone Wars series, Ahsoka Tano.
You did not just say that. You did not just say Ahsoka was the greatest character introduced in the TCW. God. Oh, there's no way he said that with a straight face. I think I just got a brain aneurysm from that chat. Oh, God. What the hell? My man, what the hell are we listening? Oh, he did not just say that.
Look, Star Wars has always been a franchise known for retconning its universe. After all,
Screw you. The I killed your father line is not a retcon. It's a plot twist. There's a difference.
Did make Luke and Leia brother and sister to wrap up a love triangle. That's real. Look it up. I'm not making that up. But
no. Also, dude, why tell us to look it up? You're supposed to be like, don't you have a crew? Can't you just throw that up on screen, man? And on top of that, there wasn't really a love triangle. This idiot is saying, Clone Wars micro series, what's that? I find it baffling that he didn't even bring up the 2003 micro series. Everyone knows about it. I binged it back when it aired, and I was only 4 or 5 years old. I watched it on DVD on repeat as a kid. Like, out of everything I've ever watched, I think I've memorized that entire show, and yet I still absolutely adore rewatching it.
Probably the greatest Star Wars retcon of all time was the introduction of Ahsoka Tano.
You mean the worst retcon of all time?
Was Anakin Skywalker's previously unknown Jedi Padawan. So Ahsoka's existence completely rewrites the Star Wars timeline. Showing this headstrong Jedi have to grow by training an apprentice gave Anakin more depth. Throughout the arc of the show,
Anakin had plenty of depth already.
So we see Anakin grow attached to Ahsoka, the same kind of attachment that causes his fall, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But more importantly, Ahsoka showed that you can introduce main characters outside of the movies.
Screw off! The expanded universe did that years ago with the likes of Mara Jade, Revan, Darth Bane, Thrawn. Hundreds of characters from the expanded universe are basically became just as popular as the main characters from the movies. Ahsoka was not the first. What the hell is he talking? I don't know. This is an aneurysm and a half. How far are we into the video? We're 2 minutes in. We're 2 minutes, nearly 30 seconds in, and I am having like, I wish I could take an Advil right now.
Protagonist of this show. We begin with her as an annoying Padawan.
You're stuck with me, Sky Guy.
And we see her grow into a teacher and a warrior that can...
She's a Padawan! How could you... She's a Padawan. How the hell can she be a freaking teacher if she's still a Padawan? What is this show? Dude, you've got a lot of catching up to do.
Kick Darth Maul's ass. She even falls.
There is no way she should have kicked Darth Maul's ass.
For a boy, Lux Bonteri, showing that she struggles with the same temptations that caused Anakin's fall. Ahsoka is the relatable point of view character that the prequel trilogy lacked. I mean, no wonder.
She's not relatable in the slightest. Like, screw off. Like, how the hell am I supposed to be relatable to her? Because she's an annoying prick that nobody wants around? Also, dude, don't be eating cereal. That's just going to make you look like a smug jackass. I mean, you are a smug jackass, but don't try to make it so apparent.
Dave Filoni can't bring himself to kill the character off.
Oh, person, not again. You can't eat those sugar cereals.
Hey, man, it's made by
God.
just like no sugar's coat. Have a lonely, they tell good at for money. I can just eat tasty cereal. Link in the description on Amazon. Now let's talk about the prequel problem with Palpatine. So between Attack of the...
Okay, what's the problem with Palpatine? This is going to be a first. Well, let's see. What era are you interested in? Before, after, or in between the 6 movies, as Solar puts it? Because we're here for you, buddy. We're here to help you get into the real Star Wars.
Clones and Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine amassed considerable power by weaponizing the political system. But we didn't see that on screen, which makes everybody around Palpatine in the prequels seem to just be inept. To the audience,
oh my God, the EU did this already.
It was really obvious that Palpatine was a villain angling to take control of the Republic.
I love democracy. I love the Republic.
But in the Clone Wars, we saw Palpatine manipulate the government over the course of 7 seasons. We see how he manipulated not just the Jedi and the Republic, but also Count Dooku and the Separatists. After all,
how the hell did he manipulate Dooku? Dooku was in on it right from the start.
Palpatine's plan was never really to keep Dooku as his apprentice.
Kill him. Kill him now.
Now, ironically, getting this story right required a deeper dive into galactic politics after fans criticized the prequels for showing too much parliamentary procedure. But with,
you know, the 6 minutes of political scenes thrown all together.
The Clone Wars, the nuances of Palpatine's political plot became clear, proving that the people around him weren't fools. They were lulled into serving him over time. Hell, at times, there were even Separatist and Republic senators like Mita Bonteri and Padme Amidala who entered into peace talks to end the war. And we see Palpatine squash these talks by assassinating Mita Bonteri and pinning blame on the Republic. This stokes the flames of violence, secures even more power for himself, and guaranteed that the war would continue. Also in the prequel trilogy, the Jedi... well, they looked like idiots. They worked closely with the Sith Lord for years, even following his orders as he acquired substantial power right under their noses.
Because the Jedi had grown content. They had grown, too comfortable with their high position of power. They became arrogant. Ki-Adi-Mundi was so sure that the Sith have been extinct for millennium.
The Jedi also betrayed their own beliefs. Rather than remaining peacekeepers, they quickly became soldiers fighting a political war. The time jump between episodes 2 and 3 made this problem worse. On screen, the transition from poet monk to soldier happens at breakneck speed, with little explanation.
Because there's a time jump, you idiot! Do you not know how time jumps work?
For why the Jedi have betrayed their values.
Because they defend the Republic. That's why. Oh my god, this doesn't even need the expanded universe. This is literally just common sense.
Clone Wars addressed these issues by showing how Palpatine trapped the Jedi. See, they saw the Republic as essential to maintaining peace in the galaxy. So, when the Republic was threatened, they had to intervene. Unfortunately, Palpatine anticipated that response and orchestrated the war to force the Jedi to gradually betray their values. Now, at first, the war made the Jedi seem like heroes, but as time went on, the galaxy and even some Jedi began to doubt what the Jedi stood for. We see this in the Clone Wars series, but not in the prequels.
Because I have come to realize what many
one of the greatest moments of character assassination in the entirety of history.
people in the Republic have come to realize that the Jedi are the ones responsible for this war.
For instance, we saw the Jedi Pong Krell become disillusioned with the Jedi Order and plan to not only abandon the Republic, but to join the Separatists as well.
I am no longer naive enough to be a Jedi.
We also see young Padawans like Ahsoka Tano and Barriss Offee on the front lines, and this emphasizes how far the Jedi had fallen. These benevolent peacekeepers used child soldiers to fight a war. Certain arcs even showed the kids being put into dangerous situations and treated like they're expendable cannon fodder, like in Season 2, Episode 6, Weapons Factory. And
that literally makes no damn sense. Padawans are supposed to be with their masters. That includes charging into war. The Jedi are meant to be peacekeepers, man.
Episode, Barriss Offee and Ahsoka are trapped under debris and they're near death. Barriss's Jedi Master, Luminara Unduli, discourages Anakin from trying to save them. Ironically, they only survive because of Anakin's attachment to Ahsoka. Palpatine also orchestrated public opinion to make himself seem like the true representative of the people and make the Jedi look like outsiders. Now, this happens with literally one speech in Revenge of the Sith, but in the show, we see glimpses of the public's turning opinions on the Jedi.
With the Jedi running around, starting wars, policing everything.
Now, with this turn in opinion, if the Jedi were to oppose Palpatine, then their actions would look like treason.
The Chancellor's been elaborating on a plot by the Jedi to overthrow the Senate.
And by the time the war started, it was already too late for the Jedi. Now, you guys know how much we love Star Wars here at the channel, and that's
clearly you don't.
Our favorites. There, stay on target. Best way to get free. Now, let's talk about character.
On screen, no.
It seemed like Anakin turned very quickly.
Oh, God. The Anakin turned to the dark side almost immediately. Crap. Anakin's fall was gradual. Sure, you can argue a little rush, but it's like, what is he supposed to do after he helps kill Mace Windu?
From remorse,
what have I done?
To child murder. Now, we did see key moments of Anakin's fall in the prequels, like when he slaughtered the Tusken Raiders.
And I slaughtered them like animals.
But in Revenge of the Sith, after he finds out Palpatine is an evil Sith Lord, who, by the way, looks really damn evil, he turns on a dime.
I will do whatever you ask.
On screen, only 7 minutes and 8 seconds pass between this...
You're the Sith Lord.
...and this.
You do know why he did that, right? Because he was trying to counter-argue. He was trying to talk down Mace Windu from killing Palpatine. No, it wasn't quickly. If one just paid attention to the movies, he steadily falls throughout all 3 films. Xanatos, welcome to the stream, man. Brandon, one argument I see from the EU never being canon is that George didn't stop Filoni from Order 6016, the Clone Wars multimedia project. Have a counter? George was just checked out. He barely had any involvement with the production of TCW. So, yeah. I mean, George didn't write, he didn't direct, he didn't even edit a single episode.
Hey, I'm Emmy.
Oh my god, this is like a bazillionth ad right now.
An abrupt transition, and it takes us right into Anakin killing kids and declaring,
"From my point of view, the Jedi are evil."
But the Clone Wars provides a much deeper understanding of why Anakin believed that and what led him to turn on.
The EU did that, you fool. The EU further built up upon this.
Mace Windu. In the show, Anakin loses faith in the Jedi over time. Anakin becomes a soldier, and he spends every
That
day...
literally happens in the movie. You literally reference Attack of the Clones, and you think Anakin wasn't falling to the dark side then? That makes no sense.
Exposed to violence. So, throughout the war, he begins to see violence as a way to solve his problems, even if it's not technically the Jedi way. He kills Tal Merrick from behind, not very honorable. He also kills Admiral Trench in cold blood, and he even uses Vader's iconic Force choke to kill separatists. When you see Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars series, it's a lot easier to imagine this guy becoming Darth Vader.
Actually, it's a lot harder. Also, there's no way he can't tell that Padme isn't pregnant in this one scene. Does he not realize that he was focused on saving Padme? Like, what is he talking about? I really wish I do not know. I mean, I really wish I knew.
So, Anakin's relationship with Padme becomes richer and more nuanced through this series.
Screw you.
See that he becomes jealous of her friendships with other men, which leads into the idea that he sees Padme as a thing that he can possess and control. And this is how George Lucas described Anakin's fall.
You're allowed to love people, but you're not allowed to possess them.
We also see how the Jedi's mistakes with Anakin make him more susceptible to being manipulated by Palpatine. The Council deceives Anakin into believing that Obi-Wan had died just so they could complete a mission. They also refuse to help neutral planets.
Yeah, and they didn't let Anakin get in on the scheme because the Jedi are turned into idiots in this show. These people only remember the pop culture osmosis of Star Wars, not the actual story of Star Wars. Going mainstream is the death of a franchise.
They were in need, and all of this makes Anakin see the Jedi Council as a lying body that he cannot trust. But the defining moment of the Clone Wars series was when Ahsoka was framed
one of the worst arcs of the show
for murder, and the Jedi Council turned their backs on her.
It is the Council's opinion that Padawan Ahsoka Tano has committed sedition against the Republic, and thus she will be expelled from the Jedi Order.
Anakin realized the Jedi were too embroiled in Senate politics to protect one of their own. After Ahsoka's name is cleared, she decides to leave the Order, and this makes Anakin grow especially bitter against the Jedi Council. In context, this explains why he said,
"From my point of view, the Jedi are evil."
No, it doesn't. It literally has to do with the idea that the Jedi were holding him back. That the Jedi don't care about anything but themselves.
He saw the Jedi Council as a corrupt body. The Clone Wars also breathed new life into Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, in the movies, he's very much a stoic Jedi whose inexperience at training an apprentice partially leads to Anakin's fall. But he doesn't really have a character arc in these movies, and frankly, it's kind of a waste of a charming actor like Ewan McGregor. But
he doesn't need a damn character arc! What the crap? His arc mainly comes with him, making it up to Anakin by looking over Luke Skywalker. What the hell, man?
Clone Wars gave Obi-Wan a love interest, Satine Kryze. Now, this was a controversial idea, but it gives the character so much nuance and lets us see Anakin's fall in a whole new light. Now, when
Obi-Wan's real love interest is Siratachi, not Duchess Satine.
Was a young man, he and Qui-Gon were assigned to protect Satine, just like Anakin protects Padme in Attack of the Clones. The two fall for each other, but they are too committed to duty to act on their feelings.
Had you said the word, I would have left the Jedi Order.
Now, this shows us that any Jedi can be tempted, and it makes Anakin's fall all the more tragic. But this also addresses a major prequel trilogy problem. Obi-Wan never reported his suspicions about Anakin and Padme to the Jedi Council.
Because he loved Anakin like a brother. Why would he sell him out like that?
Prequels hinted that Obi-Wan knew the truth, with Anakin flirting with Padme in front of Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones, and Obi-Wan acknowledging that she liked him.
She was pleased to see us.
There's a cut monologue in Revenge of the Sith where Obi-Wan reveals that he knew the truth, and he also guesses immediately that Anakin was the father in Revenge of the Sith.
Anakin is the father, isn't he?
You are the Father!
So, if Obi-Wan is such a rule-following Jedi Master, why did he not bring any of this information to the Council?
He said it in Revenge of the Sith. He loved Anakin like a brother. He would not have sold out his apprentice, who he told Qui-Gon he would train. He promised to Qui-Gon he would train. He wouldn't sell him out like that. Obi-Wan would never do that to Anakin. Obi-Wan does have a sense of loyalty.
Because he went through the same thing with his love of Satine. Like the Clone Wars not only reveals that he once loved this woman, it shows us her tragic death.
Remember, my dear Obi-Wan.
So in that moment, as he's holding the only woman he ever loved, Obi-Wan might have wished that he could go back and leave the Order to be with her. So in the prequels, he might have been happy that Anakin found love. Maybe he was even going to encourage Anakin to leave the Order after the war. But
I highly doubt that.
Main difference between them was that Obi-Wan knew he had to choose one or the other, whereas Anakin decides that he wants to have it all. Now let's talk about the clone troopers. So the name...
Oh, no. Here we go. The clones. The only woman he ever loved? Where is Siratachi? If Anakin and Padme left to go raise Luke and Leia, Obi-Wan would have kept his mouth shut. Jorge Lucas, welcome to the stream. The Filoni Wars from 2008 is not canon, and it did not save Star Wars. He wouldn't know that because he never read the novelization of the book. Obi-Wan literally said he loved Anakin. He loves Anakin, sees him as a brother. Or rather, Padme tells that to Obi-Wan.
Clone Wars really invokes the imagination. It makes you picture the Republic fighting against legions of clone soldiers. But in the movies, the clones turn out to be just as boring as droids. They're just lookalikes who hang around until it's time to turn on the Jedi. And
that's the point.
Their heel turn was also confusing. Like, were they waiting for Palpatine to tell them to turn? Was this always the plan? Did they know the entire time that they were going to kill the Jedi? The movies don't really...
The expanded universe elaborates on this, and the movies indicate that the clones are genetically programmed to obey order without question. They were already set up in Attack of the Clones. TCW ruined the clone troopers. Way too humanized to where they may as well have been regular human recruits. That's not what clones are. They were built for war. Like droids.
Treat the clones as fully human, so they're not characters we care about. But the show makes the clones some of the most compelling characters in the series. Troopers are given names, personalities, and story arcs.
Oh my god, clones had names in the EU. Why are you acting like this is... How much longer is this vid? I would say maybe like... Let's see. At least 4 more minutes.
First inkling we get of clone independence is Cut, the clone who deserts the war to start a family.
Which cannot happen. Clones are programmed for strict loyalty.
Swore an oath to the Republic. You have a duty. I have a duty. You're right. But it's to my family.
But we also see the clones in their training when they're worried that they may not make the cut and they won't be able to serve the Republic. And this is especially tragic since we know the clones are being used and manipulated like property. And yet they are ultimately loyal to the Republic. And there's even defective clones like 99 who still want to serve the cause.
99 shouldn't even exist. He should have been euthanized because the Kamonians only strive for perfection.
And Clone Captain Rex stands out as one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time. We see him grow and evolve from Anakin's favorite clone commander into a mentor and friend to Ahsoka Tano. But most importantly, the Clone Wars introduced the Inhibitor chip, which
one of the most canon-breaking objects of all.
Revealed that the clones did not willingly betray the Jedi. They were programmed to turn on their commanders once Palpatine executed Order 66. So this altered the clone story by showing that they were victims and not villains, and it paved the way for great spin-offs like The Bad Batch.
You mean terrible spin-offs? The spin-off that destroyed Scorch.
In fact, the Clone Wars was the catalyst for a whole new Star Wars era that, for better or worse, would prioritize TV shows. So let's talk about the legacy of this show and how I think it points a way forward for Lucasfilm in the next 10 years.
You mean a way downward, straight into the depths of hell.
The Clone Wars was a first of its kind release in 2008. Star Wars had always been a movie-focused franchise. An animated show set in the middle of a trilogy was an anomaly, and it changed the game.
Oh my god, the micro-series did this first. I'll be honest, Rex was the only likable TCW character. His armor's cool, though. He's no alpha. The show really made the Kamonians look like garbage cloners. 10 years and they can't make a soldier worth a damn. And they're just supposed to be the best damn fine cloners in the galaxy.
The 10-year gap between the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy, our only on-screen Star Wars were the Clone Wars and Rebels. Now, George Lucas attempted to start a live-action series called Star Wars Underworld, but couldn't overcome the budgetary limitations of TV. But then, when Disney attempted a return of films with the sequel trilogy, it didn't go well.
Somehow Palpatine.
Today, many fans see the sequels as Star Wars' worst movies, and some sequel trilogy actors seem to agree.
I was a bit like, some choices creatively, which I have spoken about, not to get into it, that I didn't agree with.
Following the sequel's backlash and criticism, Star Wars pivoted to focus on streaming shows. Since the rise of Skywalker...
And where they would proceed to only kill Star Wars even faster. Did anyone used to think TCW was brilliant before you started the EU? No, I never actually watched TCW as a kid. I actually got lucky.
2019 debut, no new Star Wars movies have been released. But in that time, we have seen 196 episodes of Star Wars TV. Now,
196 episodes of pure hot garbage.
Now, not every show did well, but many were better received in the sequel trilogy. And some, like Andor and The Mandalorian, are arguably the best live-action Star Wars since the original trilogy. The Clone Wars proved just how much Star Wars TV shows can fill in the gaps and improve the movies. But we might be seeing the end of Star Wars TV. Currently, Ahsoka season...
I hope to God that we see the end of Disney Star Wars TV, because then, maybe then, we'll finally see Star Wars put to rest where it belongs.
2, which is expected to be released later next year, is the only confirmed upcoming live-action show. Even with animated shows, Star Wars seems to be taking a step back. Maul Shadow Lord is coming out in 2026, but that's the only major animated show in the works, which is a huge change from what we have seen from Star Wars in the last decade.
So wait, is Star Wars going to stop making TV shows?
Well, I think Disney is done just throwing money at these shows. Like when Disney Plus first started, they invested huge amounts of capital to build up a subscriber base. But now, it's actually hard to say. Hell, even Lucasfilm doesn't seem to know where Star Wars is going next. Movies like New Jedi...
They never knew where to take this series. I watch Screen Crush video. I disregard everything in said video. That's me in a nutshell.
Order or Taika Waititi's Star Wars movies have been announced only to be stuck in development purgatory. And at Star Wars Celebration this year, the focus was only on movies. The most significant announcements were about The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is releasing May next year, and Star Wars Starfighter coming out the year after. So the golden era of Star Wars TV shows might have ended. Now, I do think it's exciting that Star Wars is coming back to the movies after a really long hiatus, but I think Star Wars is a natural fit for TV. It's huge and episodic, and it can sustain a story over a sprawling 26-episode season. So I hope that someday we get a show that makes the sequel trilogy better, like how the Clone Wars made the prequels better. Like, I want a series that shows...
Nothing will ever make the Disney trilogy better. You are literally a retard. That is a retard alert, class. Retard alert. Screen Crush has an entire team, but none of them can do basic. I thought they had a team.
That's the gradual rise of the First Order. And maybe then we'll have a generation of fans who finally understand this.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yes. I still don't get it.
Big shout out to Liz Declan, who...
That is never going to happen. Keep dreaming, Screen Crush, because that will never happen. The Disney, as far as we are all concerned, Disney Star Wars is fake Star Wars. That is a fact that we need to continue pushing. All right. One last video, one last push, and then we're going. Dyad in the Force. The truth about Legends versus canon. Everything you know about Star Wars is wrong. I do believe I can't recall if I've covered this before, though, but I'll have to check.
Everything you know about Star Wars is wrong. On this episode, Legends was never canon. Chaco, why? Why are we talking about this?
It's just something that always comes up, you know. People will say, "Oh, this breaks canon," and then you're like, "Oh, how so? What in canon does it break?" And then they're like, "Well, right here in Legends." Like, listen,
the expanded universe was the creation of the expanded universe was overseen and approved by George Lucas, who had a hand in the creation of the EU. So it is far more canon than Disney Star Wars could ever parade to be.
Love Legends. I feel confident in saying I've read more Legends than 99% of people on the planet.
Bull crap. I bet I've read more expanded universe than you. I have a full darn list of every single thing than the expanded. I have a whole darn list of everything I have consumed in the expanded universe, and I bet it's longer than anything you've ever read. If you need us to explain how it breaks canon, then you are a hashtag fake fan.
More than most people should. And I love it. And I
love more than most people should? Are you telling me there should be a limit to what you read in the expanded universe? Excuse me, sir? So is there a limit to how many Batman comic books I should read? Is there a limit to how many Spider-Man comics I should... Okay, that's a bad example. There is a limit. You end like somewhere around the J. Michael Straczynski era. But are you telling me there should be a limit to how much of the expanded universe I should read?
Of the characters, and it's had a fantastic time, but I always understood that wasn't canon, and that those things that I read there, George Lucas was not beholden to them. He didn't have to put them in any films.
Okay, but that doesn't disregard them as canon. Just because George could disregard it doesn't mean it's not canon. I know, and I can confidently say I've read 14, 16 books out of 21. That's more than he did, probably. I'm confident that Choco sold out and joined the shill side. I would be inclined to agree with you.
And even later, and it was just a good thing because there was some ridiculous stuff in Legends.
And yet somehow it's all more plausible and a lot more fun here in the expanded universe than it is in Disney Star Wars. I'll take damn Skippy the Jedi droid over the rock dude from the High Republic.
There is the weird bug creature that had mouths on its chest, and if you made out with its mouth, you would get younger. That was a thing.
You need to back that up with a source. You need to back that up. You cannot just say that and back it up. I had somebody once tell me that there was a sex cult in one of the expanded universe books, and I had to ask him, and then he basically confessed that he was making that up. You have to back this up. You cannot just say crap and not back that up. Skippy the goat. These soy boys have less testosterone in their system than Gina Carano. Yeah, but Luke milks alien tits in the film.
In Star Wars, we don't need that mess.
That reminds me of Sybil.
Oh yay! Brief reprieve from the stupidity. Yay! Oh no, it's Target.
She was a mind witch that she could suck the life out of.
What the hell is wrong with Sybil? Like seriously, what's the problem with mind witches, huh? You got a problem with mind witches?
Like So Han, Leia, and Luke in particular happened upon her.
Leia wasn't in the original story Sybil debuted in. Shh. You guys don't even know the actual lore. I've read the story where Sybil shows up.
She had drained the life from like a platoon of stormtroopers, and she had after she did that, she was young again. And there's this whole thing about Luke being seduced by her as a young witch. But he breaks free. I'm breaking free.
Okay, what's the problem with that? Where in that is there a problem? Like, honestly, tell me, where's the problem?
Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, in Legends, in Legends, Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc because it literally just burped and it shot him out.
No, he detonated his jetpack and blew himself out of the Sarlacc pit. He had to crush his jetpack, which allowed him to wiggle free, and then he tossed a bunch of grenades into its mouth and blasted out of there. Did you guys not do your research? Guys, I think our claims of reading the expanded universe are true. I think we've all read more than these two idiots. Their whole argument is it's only okay when Filoni and Disney does it. Disney Star Wars is just a constant barrage of stupidity, and yet they try to trash the EU. Blatant shill behavior.
He hit his head, and he forgot who he was, and the Jawas thought he was a robot, and so they took him. And then he helped.
Oh my gosh, that's the Marvel. That's S canon, you idiots. I don't even know if that story is directly canon. I don't think it is.
The Jawas also took R2, and so they helped. He thought he didn't know who he was, so he helped Han Solo and Leia get R2 back. And in the meanwhile, the Sandcrawler got out of control and it crashed while he was it. Like it was wild. But the thing is, it was never canon. It was never meant to be canon.
It is canon, though.
Always been very clear that it was two different worlds, and everyone who is capable of deciding what is and isn't canon will tell you the same thing. Now, Lucasfilm does have an official.
Tell that to Matthew Stover or James Lucino, who have literally gone on record saying that the EU is canon. Why would they be allowed to say that if that wasn't the case?
An official answer. It's a reader's companion to the expanded universe. It is the final and definitive answer. It came out before Disney bought Star Wars. And it's the whole purpose of this book is this is how we view Legends. And it clearly states that
we'll be able,
none of those things enter canon.
We'll be able to read it. I do want to touch on the Dapper DM's comments. The old canon hierarchy was wild. And that is also something that is often misconstrued and mischaracterized as Leland Chee's tier list of canons was always a list of different canons. They were not like levels of canon.
Yeah, there was. It was how they organized everything, you idiot. S canon, they are omitting detail. Well, they're just trying to straight up lie. They're trying to say it's multiple canons. So it's like, what, multiple continuities? Like, no, it's how they organized everything and kept everything consistent.
So you had G canon, that was George Lucas's prime canon. And
also, dude, Grogu doll in the background. We got a Grogu doll back here, but none back here. Poor Pikachu.
You had everything else. You had a T canon, you had a C canon, and an S canon. And anything that was an S canon
See you, Wolfscar.
Or C canon was not part of George Lucas's canon. It was its own canon based on George Lucas's canon.
Okay, then why did George reference it in his movies? Why did he reference the C canon material in the prequels and the special editions? Time Machinery, welcome to the stream.
And to go back to Chaco's point, I'm going to bring up the Reader's Companion and we can all read it together. You probably won't be able to see it, Chaco, but that means
I could probably read it verbatim.
And
With
right,
Lucy.
right away we get an ad. Lovely. Okay, because you guys probably don't want to hear this absolutely tired mother lover read it out loud, I will read it for you. They lie by omission. Everything before the Thrawn trilogy is S-canon. Okay. Common questions are, how real are these stories? Do they count? Do they really happen? The most definitive canon of the Star Wars universe is encompassed by the feature films and television productions in which George Lucas is directly involved. The movies and the Clone Wars television series are what he and his hand-picked writers reference when adding cinematic adventures to the Star Wars oeuvre. But Lucas allows for an expanded universe that exists parallel to the one he directly oversees. In many cases, the stewards of the expanded universe, editors within the licensing division of Lucasfilm Limited, will work with authors and publishers, will ask for his input or blessing on projects. Though these stories may get a stamp of approval, they don't enter his canon unless they are depicted cinematically in one of his projects. Well, joke's on you. He references them a lot in his cinematic productions. Of course, TCW doesn't count because that broke canon with the movies. That said, unless something occurs in a canon project to directly contradict a published source, it can reliably be said to have occurred. Extensive records track the growth of the expanded universe, cataloging planets, characters, technology, and events to allow for a sprawling, believable continuity connecting the published works of the Star Wars universe. It's not perfect. When errors occur, the companion does sometimes call them out. This is not to diminish these tales in any way, but rather to illustrate that the Star Wars expanded universe is a living document that grows and evolves over time. The Reader's Companion is not meant as a replacement for the experience of reading these works firsthand. Those truly interested in the stories are strongly encouraged to read them whole. No matter how detailed, a summary is no substitute for experiencing a story as the author intended. Okay, what in there directly says that the expanded universe isn't canon? I would argue that C-canon is pretty much directly 100% canon at this point. Like, it literally is. It's the same universe as the one he oversees.
All right, so where's telling of stories?
It's not. In fact, they used to have to take down anything Force Unleashed related whenever George entered a room later on.
Do you have a source for that? Because there's literal interviews of George being directly involved with the Force Unleashed development. Stop lying, man.
It was kind of funny.
But here's also something that I want to read as part of that section, just in Project 2 Planet, and not in
reliably. Long point is, I mean, that the title of the section is canon and continuity. So the whole point is the stories are in continuity despite not being canon. And as long as
you can't necessarily have it be both, dude. If it's in the continuity, it's canon. That's how it damn works. Am I going crazy here? Funny how Ahsoka and Starkiller were introduced the same year, yet one of them destroyed Star Wars while the other enriched it. Because why would it be called the Expanded Universe if it doesn't take place in the same timeline?
Didn't directly interfere with canon, you could reliably say it happened. That's just no longer the case. And my thing with this conversation piece is that most of the reason that this is a discussion piece is because people want to be mad.
No, the reason this is a discussion piece is because we know the truth and we are trying to spread it. And you guys constantly keep undermining it, but with these garbage lies. And we're calling you out for it.
That's Disney, right? If you recognize that, oh, this was never canon in the first place, then you can't be mad at that for not being done, for certain things being changed.
Oh no, you can be mad at Disney for 100 things, man. I'm mad at them for 100 things, and they don't even directly have to involve the expanded universe. Even if you believe the expanded universe was never canon, you can agree that it would have been a smart move to just adapt the expanded universe stories into TV shows and crap.
Right, it removes that spike. But additionally, a lot of people grew up on this stuff. I myself did. It was actually was funny as well. It's a really hot girl that actually turned me on to Star Wars books in the first place.
Wait, did she turn you on and then?
Oh God, there's no way you got any action with a chick, dude. I mean, I know he doesn't because of that stupid freaking mole of his, but I don't think he's got any action with dude that's stupid. Okay, give me a second. They are coping and seething. How's that? Joke's on them. They need Hollywood weirdos to dictate Star Wars for them. Unthinking NPCs. Yeah. As a matter of fact, in the novel Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader, near the end, Vader plans to have an apprentice to help overthrow Sidious. And in Dark Times, Vader is actively looking for one. I actually should look those up for a lore video at one point. An actual good video. Nice impression, 10 out of 10. Oh, thanks, dude.
I mean, a little column A, a little column B. But she was like, I was talking to this girl about Star Wars, and she was like, yeah, they go into like the fighting styles and stuff of the characters, and I just really like it. And I was like, oh, word? And that changed my life. But
why? Why is there an emoji just floating across my screen right now? You know, I wish one day I could meet a girl that is almost just as passionate about Star Wars and fiction in general as I am. I'm still searching, guys.
You can get this fixed now and
what I want you to know is you're
What
not,
the hell?
you're
Why
not
is this
losing these stories. You haven't lost them. If anything, they're more accessible now than they've ever been before. They're being re-released, you know.
Barely. You know, it's weird because when they make the games, when they re-release or remaster like Dark Forces, they don't slap the Legends label on them for some reason. It's inconsistent. Legends is inconsistent. Not only that, United Spacers Alliance on his video Star Wars and Politics, I believe I shared it earlier this week. He talked about how, you know, they were just lumping stories from Star Wars Infinities in with the actual stuff that was canon. So now people are going to have this misconception thinking, oh, Skippy the Jedi droid was canon. Oh, Tag and Bink were canon when they never were. You're shilling too hard. I made my girlfriend promise me to not show our kids Disney Star Wars or anything from modern Disney. I'd rather show my 5-year-old Tokyo Ghoul than the rise of Fake Walker. Honestly, I'd do the same.
There's a lot of low cards in that deck, but the best ones are being re-released. If you're an audiobook fan, they're getting re-recorded in high quality with sound effects and all that. You don't have to listen to the old ones where the guy's like, and then he went back to Coruscant.
Screw you, man. I'd rather watch the old stuff because it's fun to see Star Wars taking its first steps into becoming the franchise that it would be, the legendary franchise that it is now. Well, to me. To what real Star Wars was.
Those were terrible. You know, it's awesome.
Yeah. Finally, I do want to raise the all-powerful voice of Dave Filoni himself.
Oh, and there's where their argument completely goes down the crapper, referencing Dave Filoni as a source. The liar himself, the hack in the hat. Oh, boy. You guys cannot help yourselves.
it's a funny thing, having been here a while and actually telling Star Wars stories. I mean,
telling campfire stories, because that's all Star Wars is to you.
like a very odd, unique position, which is that there's this notion that everything changed and when everything became Legends, and I can see why people think that. But you know, having worked with George, I can tell you that it was always very clear, and he made it very clear, that the films and the TV shows were the only thing that he considered canon. That was it. So everything else was a world of fun ideas, exciting characters, great possibilities. But the EU was created to explore all those things. And I know, and I fully respect people's opinion about it, that some of the material said the next canon part of it. Okay. But like, from the filmmaking world that I was brought into, the TV series, the films were it. They were set in stone.
Filoni sauce. Trust me, bro. Hashtag fake fans that are fraud-loni faithful. Gay.
So it was not a big change for me when everyone was saying everything's Legend status now. I'm like, yeah, that's what I've always understood. It's all Legend status. What I've been able to do on Clone Wars
was completely bastardize the expanded universe. I'll believe it when I hear it from Lucas's own lips, not fraud-loni. If that's the only thing you consider canon, then what the hell is the Thrawn trilogy taking place after Return of the Jedi?
The same thing that George was doing in the prequels, which is, you know, George like Ayla Secura. Ayla Secura gets pulled out of the comic books, and now she's walking in the Jedi Temple.
Okay, she was made canon. No, she was canon. Because the EU was indeed canon. Dang, I'm having a brain fart.
In Clone Wars, there were several things from the expanded universe that, you know, hey, we need a gang. We need another kind of mafia group, not just the Hutts. Okay, Black Sun. What about Black Sun? Let's look at that. That exists. And I've always leaned towards if we're going to create something, we should check and see if it existed already to the fans.
So we can rip it off. So we can either rip it off or we make something extremely similar to replace it.
Because it has way more value if we bring that in. And
Right.
it's like, why would I just replace it with something new? So if we're going to do an admiral, if we're going to do a big military leader, yeah, I could create a new guy, sure. But what about...
But because I'm not creative enough to do it, let's rip out one of the greatest villains from the expanded universe.
Thrawn. Thrawn is great. Thrawn is a character we all know. Thrawn has a lot of credibility. So
in large part, you're saying that he had always understood under George Lucas's tutelage that Legends was always Legends. Like these EU stories were always kind of like, as Kent Kari says in our YouTube chat, myths like King Arthur, Atlantis, Dracula, all great and good stories. They're all
We're almost done. I got 2 more minutes of this crap, and then I can shut off this stream.
reliably to have said to have occurred, but if something is depicted on screen or in film or in the new canon that contradicts it, then it was never that's the truth of it. You know, it's the same thing with talking about...
Okay, then why did George block off certain time periods back when, you know, the Clone Wars was, when the EU was being made in the 90s? Why did he block off the Clone Wars? Why did Disney have to come out and make an official statement saying that the expanded universe was no longer canon? Because remember, they didn't say the EU was never canon. They said that the EU was no longer canon. So what the hell? Explain to me that. Griff Trooper certainly couldn't. Every time these two pop up, they look fatter than before. Who's willing to bet Chaco's going to end up looking like the Kingpin from Will Arnett's Daredevil?
And what's
Kiadi Mundi's
interesting...
birthday. being from a Star Wars Insider book that is just no one knows about it, but because of Wikipedia, that it's an aggregator of all information. The information is
Isn't Wikipedia missing information or it has stuff just flat out wrong? Like I think I've heard a couple of times that that Wikipedia is missing some stuff, so it's not reliable.
there, but nobody knew about that birthday.
Yeah, and this is always it's always been the case. One of the things I love is the behind the scenes from the Clone Wars that we get, and if you watch those behind the scenes, they make it painfully clear that the expanded universe wasn't canon.
You mean the behind the scenes that Star Wars Scran, subscribe to him, he's an awesome dude, tore apart in his video series, The Continuity Wars. Okay.
There's even a part where the Zygerian slaver arc happened in the comics first.
Oh yeah, Slaves of the Republic, where Dave Filoni ended up butchering it.
He brought that writer over in order to help with that episode, but they did change a bunch of things
and made it significantly worse.
In the behind the scenes, Dave Filoni specifically says because the author used to work on.
How dare they play SWTOR music while babbling such nonsense? I bet these two are gorging themselves with food during all those ad breaks. The ad revenue is to pay for all that food. Respect the Retro. Welcome to the stream. Who are these guys? This is Dyad in the Force, Element and Chaco, two retards who constantly lie about real Star Wars.
The Clone Wars? He actually put a lot of stuff in there that allowed this to be told using their medium in canon. Some things had to be changed. It also had the most disgusting outfit for Ahsoka. It was really gross.
Oh God, it's not like slaves are supposed to be put in demeaning outfits. Sheesh, they couldn't even portray slavery properly.
Same thing would happen with all the Mandalorian lore. George just took a big old jump on it.
No, he didn't.
To the point where Karen Traviss couldn't finish her book series.
Dave Filoni took the steaming dump, and I don't blame Karen Traviss for leaving.
She was literally in the middle of her series. I had another book left to go, but Attack of the Clones came out, and he irrevocably changed Mandalorians and clones and made sure that
what? No, that's not how it works. The Clone Commando series came out after Attack of the Clones.
That Jango Fett and Boba Fett were not Mandalorians, and it just killed the book. So it couldn't go on any further.
Oh my God. What liars. George, that was Dave Filoni's fault. Jango Fett and Boba Fett are Mandalorians. They both literally led Mandalorian cults. They were both of Mandalore. Karen Traviss was bullied into abandoning Star Wars by Gay Loney. Screw prequelators. What is he talking about? I wish I knew. Oh, that was 4 videos of absolute stupidity. But we got through them because these idiots do not know a single thing about the expanded universe. The prequels are amazing. The prequels are cool. And I highly recommend play Star Wars Republic Commando, read the Clone Wars multimedia project. Read the Republic comics. Cestus Deception, the Republic Commando series by Karen Traviss. I highly recommend reading all of those series. You can find them online. There's a good website I can recommend you guys. Give me a second to pull it up. Here we go. Because I actually started using this lately. World of Books. You can actually get the books without the Legends label if you look hard enough. You can actually find them at reasonable prices too. You know, you can, so it's not going to cost you too much to actually go ahead and find them. I would recommend using World of Books if you want to look up, if you want to look for real Star Wars material. I highly recommend it. Please. That is what you should do. Go out there, find the expanded universe, preferably without the Legends label, and read it. You ordered Plagueis on World of Books in mid-October and it hasn't arrived yet, unfortunately. I don't know. I get my books from this website. I don't know about you, but I think it took like a week or two for my thing to show up. But yeah, that's all I wanted to share with you tonight, guys. So until next week, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to join my Discord server, link is in the description. And make sure to follow me on X. A link is also in the description. Until then, always remember, real Star Wars is the 6 films and the expanded universe. Always was, always will be. And until next time, stay awesome, chat. See you guys.